Glad to see you're still buzzing around town.
My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 10 is out, titled Event Announcement. Of course, we're going to be breaking down the episode as well as the entire season each week, so be sure to Detroit, smash that like button, and subscribe to the Kidoroki channel so that you won't miss any My Hero Academia Vigilantes content. Now, the episode begins with Knuckleduster at the hospital having a conversation with his sick wife, telling her that he has hobbies and friends now, leading a better life overall compared to how he was doing just a few years prior. He just wishes that all of this could have happened sooner, and a nurse walks in calling Knuckle by his real last name being Oguro, with his full name being Iwao Oguro. She tells Knuckle that the doctor would like to have a word with them, and the doctor updates Knuckle on his wife's condition, telling him that his wife is a lost cause. Here the anime adds in a flashback showing Knuckle walking into his home to find his wife lying on the ground surrounded by bees as Hachisuka stands on the other end of the hall smiling. The flashback shows us why Knuckle a few episodes ago was so determined to find the bee user, because this is extremely personal for him as his wife is in the state that she's in because of the bee user. We switch over to Soga asking a bunch of schoolgirls if they know who this girl is, who happens to be Hachisuka before the eye patch and short hair. One of Hachisuka's friends believes she's in trouble and plans to warn her, but as soon as she asks the other friend for her number, she disappears to follow Soga. From an alley, Hachisuka's friend calls out to Soga to ask him what he's going to do to her once he finds her. Soga tells her that he's just a messenger and doesn't know much about what would happen after. The girl's personality seemingly switches, saying that she has something special for him, and begins to lift her skirt, and Soga gets a little embarrassed. But bees begin to come out from under her skirt, and she slumps over, letting us know that she was being used by Hachisuka the whole time through her hive mind bees. Soga takes out a can of bee spray, puncturing it, releasing out a ton of gas, making his escape. But the swarm still follows him out of the alley, and luckily, before the bees attack him, they are all burned by Moyura, as Soga's gang had followed him and planned on not letting Soga do things on his own. At the hospital, Knuckle goes back into the room his wife is in and tells her about what the doctors had said, but that they can't always rely on what they say because the doctors always said he was a lost cause too, and he turned out just fine. We then see that this whole time Knuckles' wife is in a sort of vegetative state, with her only being able to mutter words about their daughter, Tamao. Now, his wife is also shown to have an eye patch around her left eye, meaning that she was put in this state as a result of Hachisuka. Knuckle tells his wife that he will be taking care of Tama and that she'll be back with them soon, revealing that the bee user had actually been his daughter, Tamao, this whole time. In the hospital lobby, Soga sees Knuckle and tells him that there wasn't a patient called Koroiwa, and Knuckle lets him know that the business card he has is just a way of getting in touch with him and isn't his real name. Soga wants to know his real name, and Knuckle just brushes him off. Soga tells Knuckle that he tracked down the bee user's school based on her uniform, but was attacked. He tells him the bee user's name, and Knuckle knows that Hachisuka isn't the bee user's actual real name. Knuckle writes down all of the intel Soga gathered, and Soga asks if the Crawler and Pop know what he's getting himself into. Knuckle wonders if he's worried about them, which Soga clearly does, and Knuckle tells him that there isn't a need to drag them into this, and as long as they keep drawing attention, a lead will show up eventually, revealing that he had been using Koichi and Pop as bait this whole time, and the two go their separate ways. Now, in the manga, Knuckle actually stated that he didn't want to involve Koichi and Pop since he had Soga as bait, so the anime saying that Koichi and Pop are bait is most likely a correction on the manga on what Knuckles' intentions were when it came to Koichi and Pop, since they always find themselves involved with an instant villain in one way or another, which is going to lead Knuckle to Hachisuka. But as we will see later in the episode, he really doesn't doesn't want them to get too involved with his problems because he genuinely does care for them, since he makes them shift their focus onto Pop's big event. Continuing on, Soga's friends plan on sitting this one out because dealing with Knuckle Duster can only lead to trouble, but Soga is still going to work with him. Koichi and Pop show up, and Koichi says hi to Soga, being nice to him since the two of them went through a lot during the Stendhal situation, but Soga just walks away, not saying a thing, acting stubborn to not involve Koichi with anything related to Knuckle. At night, we see Hachisuka coming home telling her family about her day and how a stalker came looking for her. She tells her dad that his credit card is maxed out, and she turns on the TV to eat dinner. On the TV, we see that the MHA news is covering a story about the schoolgirl who collapsed on the street and how she remains unconscious and in critical condition, letting us know that the girl Hachisuka used to attack Soga is still alive and possibly in a similar state as Knuckles' wife. Hachisuka is surrounded by all of her bees, and it's revealed that the people she's sitting next to are obviously not her parents, but are actually dead, with her bees crawling all over them. She then says that things are getting boring and it might be time to move. At an abandoned warehouse, Knuckle is doing some hardcore training, and he picks up a picture showing Tama on it, saying he's going to catch her. Sometime later, Pop tells Koichi that she got a request to do a live event for a local department store. She's very on the fence about accepting the offer and asks Koichi what he thinks she should do. Koichi thinks no matter what he says, he'll just get punched anyways, so he asks what Knuckle thinks, and Knuckles says to do it and for Koichi to help her. Koichi goes on to get Makoto to help, and Makoto knows that Kazuho is Pop. She yells at Koichi for telling Makoto that she is Pop's step, and Koichi lets her know that she pretty much figured out everyone's identity after the bus incident. Makoto lets Pop know that she won't say a thing about the vigilante stuff, and she even says that she'll consider this as a job and won't interfere with interpersonal relationships in the workplace, pretty much letting Pop know that she knows Pop is into Koichi. So overall, she can rely on her, and Pop agrees to work with her. Makoto works her magic to really make the grand reopening for the department store a real event for Pop. She ends up getting Captain Celebrity on board to make an appearance while he was stopping a villain attack, a villain that happens to be a giant flying crab. Now, in the manga, the villain was actually a giant flying spinning turtle, which was meant to be a reference to Gamera, a Japanese kaiju from the 1965 film Gamera the Giant Monster. For the anime, the villain was changed to a crab to most likely avoid any copyright lawsuits, which is funny because in the manga there was a guy who stopped another guy from mentioning Gamera when talking about the villain because it was a lawsuit waiting to happen. Also, side note, I still find it pretty funny that Sean Schemmel, the voice of Goku, is Captain Celebrity. So having Captain Celebrity show up to the event would not only please the sponsors of the event, but boost CC's reputation as well, playing the field on multiple fronts, making the event more official for Pop while also helping CC at the same time. Makoto also lets Pop know that her and the other talents are going to have to perform the store's theme song. Makoto plays the song for them, and the anime adds in this fun old-fashioned styled commercial for the store. Pop loves the song and gets extremely nervous, and sometime later while talking to Ichimoku and Jubei about the event, deep down Pop is extremely nervous about the whole thing. We switch over and see Hachisuka receiving a notification about the event happening in 20 days, and she is actually excited for the event, but she feels a slight pain, and her personality somewhat changes to where she doesn't find the event interesting anymore. She questions why does she even care about it, letting us know that the B user is a separate entity that had taken control over Tama, most likely taking control over her after they were done with Knuckles' wife, and deep down Tama is still somewhere in Hachisuka. She then claims that she is going to spice things up at the event in her usual ways. One of her friends catches up with her and asks whether or not she had seen the other girl from earlier in the episode, because she hasn't been to school in a while, and Hachisuka simply replies that she has no clue about their other friend's whereabouts. They walk off, and from a rooftop, Knuckle Duster spots her with binoculars, finally having tracked down his daughter, continuing continuing his mission to save her. Now, the episode covered a total of about 2 chapters, them being chapters 19, 20, and 2 pages from chapter 21. This episode finally gave us some background into knuckledusters' character, showing us why he went the route of becoming a vigilante, and just how personal this all is for him because of his need to save his daughter, bringing back his family. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the 10th episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. With that said, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to subscribe to the Kiroki channel with notifications on so that you don't miss any My Hero Academia Vigilantes content, and I'll see you all in the next one.